know the only difference between you and those 6 or 7 figure coaches out there? They've harnessed the power of the internet, and you're still using a horse and carriage to drive your business. I want you to join this digital revolution in a whole new way. And I want to help you not get so distracted and cluttered and overwhelmed, because, you may have a profile on every single social media site. You may have a website, or you may not. And you may have an email newsletter, and you may have all these things, but you notice it's not working. It's not working as well as you'd like it to. And I want to help with that. So let's talk about the 10 pillars of a successful coaching business. Again, these are the areas in which you could either be doing things the old way, or you could be doing things the new way. And I want to clarify a little bit how that actually works. I'm going to go through these 10 pillars one at a time. The first one is people. Now, this is a fundamental pillar of your practice. Obviously, you're in the people business. But I really want you to think about all the different types of people that fall under this pillar. So first of all, there are your prospects, sometimes called your ideal client, your target market, the people that you most want to work with, the people you can best help. Okay, prospects. Then you've got your paying clients, the folks that have already hired you. Either you're currently working with them or you worked with them in the past. There are your peers, other coaches, the relationships that you have with them, professional development groups you may participate in. And then there are partners. And partners can either be joint venture partners or partners who create and deliver programs and services with you, or partners of the kind who just provide something for your business that you can't provide on your own. Contractors, basically, people who might do graphic design, web design, copywriting, any of those things and other things. Okay, so people. Now, traditionally, coaches have been very isolated from one another and pretended that they're not. And I want to be really straight with you about this. And you may have seen this. A very good friend of mine is one of the founders of the San Francisco chapter of the International Coach Federation, and he explained this really well. He said it's a funny thing. When people first start coaching, there's this kind of curve. When they first start coaching, they show up at the meetings, and they are super fired up. They got their little business cards. They got lots of energy. They bounce around. They try to network with everybody, but they don't really share much about what's really going on. They don't tell you about the struggles that they're actually having starting their business. They pretend already that everything's amazing. So not a lot of real engagement from them. And then over time, people even disappear. They just drop off the face of the earth and don't come back. Or they somehow crack the code and become successful. And when they do, there's a brief period of time when they're open and transparent with one another and with the rest of the community. They actually share what they're doing, what's working, what's not working, and they give a lot of really rich and authentic depth to the professional community. And then they get really successful, some of them, and they drop off the face of the earth again and stop sharing what's really working and not working behind the scenes in their business. And if you think about the majority of the standout industry leaders, it's a rare few that will actually open the kimono, so to speak, and tell you about what's really working and what's not working. They seem to be, if you've noticed this, in nonstop self-promotion mode. And the truth of the matter is that not everyone at the top is even doing all that well, but keeping up appearances becomes important. That's the old school way. What's the new school way? Well, you know what? It's being invented right now, and you're the ones who can do it. Honestly, it involves transparency. It involves authenticity. It involves collaboration in a way maybe beyond what people thought about in the past. I like to reframe things, and there's really no such thing as competition in this business. They may be other people offering similar services, similar programs, similar products. But at one level, we're on the same team. And to the extent we can share what's really working, and where we've failed, and the silly, stupid mistakes we've made, the better off we're going to be. Okay, I don't want to belabor the point, but people is something that you can do very, very well, or really not so much. Okay, let's talk about practices for a second. By this, I really mean what you do with your time day to day. It's what I talked about in the video I sent you. It's the extent to which, if we were a fly on the wall, we would see you treating your business like a business. If we followed you around for a couple of your quote-unquote work days, what would we see? I'm sure we'd see a whole range of stuff, including all kinds of silly things, because we're all human. We all do the same silly stuff. Watch cat videos on YouTube when you know you're supposed to be writing a sales letter or newsletter or something else. But anyway, how much of your time do you spend treating your business like a business? Do you focus your time? Do you protect it? Do you relate to your work the way that someone in retail relates to their work? As soon as the doors are open and the lights are on, they're spending money to be in business. So they have to have this revenue-generating mindset. Let's talk about planning. It's a very interesting thing, this. Actually, with all of these, you might look at them and go, well, wait a minute, that's obvious. I have those things. This is just an opportunity to look a little more closely and ask yourself, are you sure? Is this really handled? Is this area humming along as well as you'd like it to? Here's what I've noticed in the interactions I have with coaches that I consult with or coaches who are friends of mine. A lot of folks have goals. You've spent a lot of time developing goals. You've got a clear vision. You could have a 10-year vision. You've spent a lot of time working on that. You may have a vision board. You may have all these other things that really support that vision. But you don't necessarily have a plan, an actual nuts and bolts, rubber meets the road strategy and set of tactics for achieving those goals. If I were to ask you, do you know next quarter where those results are coming from? The answer might be, actually, I really don't. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. So you need a powerful plan. And that's something a lot of people just don't even have. They focus on the goals and the vision, and that's important, super important. But it's not sufficient, okay? Necessary, but not sufficient. You need a really powerful plan. Positioning. Again, something that not a lot of people really have thought about. Or if you've thought about it, you've thought about it in kind of an old-fashioned way. There's a lot of talk about your brand, about all of the various aspects that go with that. And that's okay, but it can also be a little misleading. It can get you worried too much about things like the colors on your website and the kind of photo or the all those things. That's important. The better design you bring to the table, the more beauty and joy you're going to contribute to people who are looking at your stuff. But what I mean by positioning is something specific. I mean the way in which you've done some serious thinking for yourself and made some choices. You've actually closed off some options in order to be more specific. Too many coaches I talk to will tell you that their target market is everyone. Well, I work with anyone. Oh, I know you could, but you actually can't, because here's why. When you talk to the world, no one thinks of themselves as everyone. Everyone thinks of themselves as a someone, and not always the same kind of someone. You've got to have identified exactly who you can do your best work with, and I promise it's not everyone. And this is not necessarily just defined by demographics. I don't just mean 30 to 45-year-old female executives of mixed heritage with, one kid. None of that. You can include those things. That's valid. But the best way to define and position yourself vis-a-vis the people you can serve and help is by the specific activities and problems that they live with day to day. Because when you can talk to them about that and how your expertise, your skill, your commitment is aligned with that, it becomes very clear why they should work with you. And for the most part, if I go and read a lot of your websites, I can tell you right now, you're aiming off into space with a shotgun and wondering why you don't hit anything. Well, your positioning is not precise. It's not clear to me within 3 seconds if this is a website for me or not. And I'll give you a little hint about this right now. Here's the new world of positioning. You ready? The old world of it is you want to be all things to all people all the time. And that really doesn't work. The new world is this. You actually want to intentionally alienate at least a third of everyone who comes across your material. And by alienate, I don't mean like you annoy them. I just mean you want them to be very clear this isn't for them, and they keep moving fast. And then the second third, you'd like them to decide very clearly that this isn't for them within a couple of minutes, so that by the time you're spending even more than a few minutes engaging with someone, whether it's through an email sequence or a video or the copy on your website or whatever, by the time someone gets to like the 3-minute mark, you only want a third of them left, and you want that to be the third of the people who actually you would want to work with, that you could make the biggest difference with, and that requires a laser focus of your positioning. Okay, I can talk to you more about these things in detail later, but I want to keep moving. Platform. This is so critical, especially in this day and age. It's always been important. And by platform, I mean something both literal and figurative. So literally, what's a platform? It is a level raised surface that you stand on. It makes you higher than your audience so they can see you and hear you. That's literally what a platform is, right? And in this day and age, that platform includes the stage, a literal stage, but it also includes the internet. And the extent to which you have built this platform in a way that raises you up above the noise, above the chatter, so that people can see you and hear you. And the extent to which you've built this platform in a way that allows for maximum engagement with people. That's the extent to which you'll be successful. Are you following me? So I want you to think about that platform. Your platform at a minimum must include your website. Why? Because that's the piece of real estate on the internet that you own and control like no other. It's your homestead. It's where you can establish yourself and really grow your business. But you need other things feeding into that as well. We'll talk to that more. All right, packages. Another critical pillar of your coaching practice. And packages, I don't just mean, well, what I do mean is the way you bundle your programs, your products, and your premium services. I'm going to talk to you at length about why your one-on-one coaching should be the pinnacle of what you offer, should be your most exclusive, most expensive, most premium service. I'll share with you my opinion about that. You can agree with me or not. But in any case, your packages are the ways that you put together all of these things. You might call it your suite, your offerings, and the way in which those are structured together. Now, traditionally, most people only thought about this in terms of it's a 3-month coaching package or a 6-month coaching package or a 1-year coaching package, and generally you'd want to sign someone up for as long as possible so you wouldn't have to do as much client acquisition, lead generation type activities. That's not what I mean, though. I mean the way in which you can think about the variety of products, programs, and premium services that your ideal client needs in order to achieve what they most want in life. Think about Apple for a second. It's a commonly used example to illustrate this. Apple offers a lot of really extraordinary products, and you don't need to have them all. You could just have one. And once you have one, they all do play nicely together, so you might think at some point about getting a few others. And there's ways for you to begin building your relationship with Apple's products that draws you into their ecosystem. And if your coaching practice doesn't have similar opportunities, you've only got one front door, which is sign up for my 6-month coaching package. There's not a lot of opportunities for people to engage with you on their terms. See, not everybody needs Apple TV. And not everybody even needs an iPhone or an iPod or an iPad or an iPad mini or any of those things. But somebody might need one of those things. And when they get it and it works for them and they love it and they think about doing additional business with the company, they're going to be much more inclined to do that. Okay, so you want to develop integrated suites of products, programs, and services, all of which have different price points and are designed to help your ideal client. And that brings us to price structure. This is something that I think a lot of people are messed up in the head about a little bit. That's really not nice to say, but I mean it. People are muddled about this. Maybe you're muddled about this. Here's what I mean. You have a strategic, thoughtful set of offerings that all have strategic and thoughtful prices. And I'm going to talk in a minute about why the price has nothing to do with what you think it is or what you're worth or any of the things that most people get kind of twisted up in knots about. The price structure is entirely based on the value that people will assign to your stuff. So you got to have ways of paying attention to that. I'll tell you very specifically what I mean after we get through this. Promotions. Isn't it convenient these all start with P? This pillar is critical. Now, in the traditional world, what do coaches do to promote themselves? Well, you know, you may have done these things. You start out by letting everybody know that you're coaching now. You reach out to your own network. You do the word of mouth kind of thing. You tell your friends and family to tell their friends and family that you're coaching. And a lot of times you start doing that for free, which I really don't recommend. I'll tell you why later. And then maybe you decide you want to expand, so you start networking more intentionally. You get your business cards, because everybody knows you got to have a business card. The amount of intentionality and expense that people put on business cards blows my mind. Your business card is not your business. I've been in business quite successfully for years, and I don't even have one. I made one up once but I did it myself. I was going to this big event, and I still have about 480 of them in the drawer. That's old school stuff. You go to BNI meetings, and you try to force your business card on everybody you meet. Hi, here, take my card. You've given them your card before you've even said anything about yourself. Here's my personal opinion, okay? That's a little icky. I think we should all stop doing that. If you have business cards and you love them and you want to use them, awesome, do it. But wait for someone to ask you for it. Hey, do you have a card? I'd love to keep in touch with you. Of course I do. Here it is. All right, new world of promotions. What is it? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's built entirely around sharing, not selling. This is the new art, the art of giving valuable things to people for free, sometimes called content marketing. It's called all kinds of things, but basically ways that you can promote what you're doing without being promotional. Ways you can get people to find out about you. Think about how you found out about this webinar. How did you even find out about me? I'm just a guy from California who's been living overseas for a long time, bouncing around in the dangerous deserts. How come we're now talking? Well, because I have a series of strategic promotions that include, in my case, and I would recommend in yours, investing some money in pay-per-click advertising that is ultra-targeted so that only the kind of people that you know you can best serve are the kind of people who begin to build a relationship with you. I'll talk more about that in a second. But being willing to invest a bit of your own money into the process of promotions is important. All business owners at some point or another really have to confront this. The most successful businesses always reinvest a percentage of revenue into their advertising marketing budget. Now, what you spend it on is critical. And as a coach, as a holistic practitioner, as a consultant or trainer or speaker, there are some things that really work and a whole lot of stuff you should just not even bother with. Okay? No yellow pages ads for you. No, billboards and other things for you. You know that already. But what should you do? Well, I'll give you an example in a minute. All right, we're almost through the 10. This is number 9, path to purchase. This concept is critical because it ties a lot of the others together. The path to purchase is essentially the sequence or the pathway that people travel down from having never heard about you to finding out you exist to beginning an engagement process with you, a conversation really, an exchange, a getting to know you thing, beginning to develop a sense of who you are, beginning to find you likable, trustworthy, open, transparent, authentic, etc., building trust, and ultimately buying something from you. Now, in some cases, that path to purchase can be really short and really fast. In other cases, it can be much more elaborate. It really depends on what's at the end of it, what it is that you're selling. And this is where most traditional coaches are failing big time. Here's the path to purchase in the traditional model. Randomly meet someone. Try to explain to them what coaching is and why it's so valuable. try to get them to sign up for a free complimentary sample session with you. And then at the end of that session, try to get them to buy a 3 or 6 or something month coaching package. That's the path to purchase most people are using. The truly successful coaches on the cutting edge have many, many paths to purchase for a variety of different offerings in their practice. Some of them are the face-to-face channel that I just talked about. Others of them use online strategies to begin engagement with people. But if you start to get strategic about this one thing, this will transform your coaching practice quicker than anything else. Now, you got to think through, what are the programs, products, services that are at the end of that path? And maybe you've got different pathways. So many people get really twisted, by the way, about having a niche or a niche in some parts of North America. I actually want to say something quite radical. You don't need a niche. You don't. It's okay if you figured that out for yourself, but if you're struggling trying to figure it out, then I would say just stop for a second. You can start up again later if you want to. Here's what I would have you do. Identify someone, a one person, the exact kind of person who could benefit. Talk to them. Find out what they need. Build it. Create it. Put that thing together. That's now what's at the end of the path to purchase for that kind of person. Not that individual, because they may not actually be the person you go back to try to buy it. But now you're going to the people like that person, and you've got a very specific and well-structured pathway that leads them from where they are to that thing that will really help them, whether it's a coaching program or a group training or an ebook or anything. And then do it again. You can help multiple kinds of people, but you must have a very clear path to purchase for each of them. And what's at the end of that path has to be designed exactly to meet their needs. And most people, what's at the end of the path to purchase is this generic thing called coaching. And it's hard to sell because people kind of don't get it. How many of you, I'm just curious, if you can, type in right now, how many people, this is a common thing. People kind of don't really get what coaching is, and you find yourself trying to explain it a lot. And maybe you have a tab on your website even that's like home, and then it says about me, and then it says what is coaching or something like that. It's fine, just be honest. How many of you found yourself trying to explain this thing to people called coaching? Be honest. Me, frowny face, somebody says. Yes, LOL. Look, it's fine. I totally get it. Here's the problem. Coaching is a very hard thing to sell directly. And I'm going to give you an alternative on this webinar. I'm going to show you another way to do it that will make your life, well, you know what? I can't say it's going to make your life easier. It's actually going to make your life harder, but only for a little while, and it's fun. All right. Final thing is psychology. This pillar is probably the one that you take for granted the most. Because, look, I mean, you're a coach, right? You are a highly evolved human being. You've had lots of training. You're probably, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, you're probably a self-help junkie who's read a lot of books and watched a lot of movies. You've been to a lot of seminars. You love this stuff. And it's easy to think that that means that you've got your mindset sorted out for the business of running a coaching practice. And actually it doesn't. It means you've got your mindset sorted out quite a lot about consciousness and what it means to be human, and you probably have a variety of perspectives that you find really exciting and illuminating to you, and ways to think about yourself and others that are empowering, but you may not have ever really developed the mindset, the psychology that it takes to be successful in business. And that's not your fault at all. That's not even a failing. You haven't been taught it. And the models that maybe have been shown you aren't ideal, or they haven't been transparent anyway, so you haven't really known what's going on. The psychology that I want to talk about here is something that we've probably all heard about, but I don't know if you've really ever unpacked it to the point where it's useful. And that's the psychology of an entrepreneur. Now, I know in a lot of coach training programs, this is something that's covered. You know, what's the difference between a coach and an entrepreneur? And there's a variety of answers, and they're all interesting. But what does it mean to really think like an entrepreneur? I don't know if you've thought that through, and you may have, but I'm going to share with you my perspective here. Let's start by defining our terms. Okay, I'm going to suggest to you, I'm going to recommend to you that this entrepreneurial mindset will help sort out a lot of muddles for you. Doesn't mean you give up any of the other things that, the other frameworks or worldviews or anything like that. But this is a specific way of thinking about your business as a business. The entrepreneurial mindset for me is not about some sort of crazy creativity like, you know, people in a garage inventing stuff that'll rule the world, although it can include that. Here's my definition. Somebody says, please explain what entrepreneur is. Okay, so just quickly, I'm going to give you the definition. Yeah, not for native English people. I got you. So entrepreneur is it's an old word, actually. It's from the 15th century. Comes from Middle French, actually. And it's a word that's used for people in business sometimes, although not everyone in business would be said to be an entrepreneur. But that's the realm in which that word is used. It's a business term for a kind of person. And I'm going to give you my definition here of what that is. I think you'll understand what I mean a little better, okay? Thanks for asking. Here's the definition, according to Adrian. I didn't completely make this up. I've adapted lots of things. But here it is. Who is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is someone who takes a risk. That seems to be a critical part of what it means to be an entrepreneur. Takes a risk to build something, or you could say create something that adds value. An entrepreneur is someone who takes a risk to build something, even if it's a set of skills, that adds value which can be exchanged for money. An entrepreneur is someone who takes a risk to build something that adds value which can be exchanged for money. Now notice something. What are the three most important terms in this definition? Risk, build, and value. Why not the money? Let's talk about that for just a second. True entrepreneurs understand something that I want you to understand, and it's something about money. Economic systems are not actually about money. Economic systems are about value. Value's the whole point of this whole thing. Money is not. What is money? I'll tell you. Money is nothing more than a tool, a transactional tool that lets you convert one kind of value to another. I'll say that again. Money is what lets you convert one type of value to another. It is a medium of exchange. You could say it's like translating one kind of value into another. You know, back in school, or maybe if this is your work now, you know about equations in algebra. You got something on one side of the equation, you got something on the other side of the equation, and then there's some sort of operator in the middle, like the equal sign, that connects the two and makes what's on this side of the equation equivalent to, or in some way related to, connected to, what's on the other side of the equation. Money's that thing in the middle. It's just the equal sign. That's it. Money literally has no mass or weight. Actually, if you think about it, what is money anyway? It's just some pieces of paper in your pocket. Or more likely, it's a whole bunch of zeros and ones on computer networks spread around the world. Where is your money, if you think about it? Well, it's in my account. Okay, so if we were to go and look, what would we be looking at? Probably a computer. Where's the money? Somewhere, maybe. All right. Money is a medium of exchange. Now, why is this empowering? I want to tell you why this is so critical to get, and why this alone can also help light a fire under you and stop all of the kind of confusion and distaste and all kinds of... We're weird about money. We are so weird, aren't we? If you're weird about money, you don't have to type it into the box. I'll just let you be private with this one, but just be proud. You're weird. We're all a little weird about money. We've gotten messed up because we've forgotten what it is. What we've been calling money is just an agreement. An agreement that was established by humankind long before you showed up, long before I showed up. An agreement that pieces of paper and then zeros and ones could be exchanged, could be used to convert one type of value to another type of value. Now, what are economic transactions all about then if they're not about money? Well, they're about value and something else. They're about emotions. What? That's weird. Isn't economics supposed to be like that hard-nosed science, that most rational of the social sciences? Well, that was how people thought about it. But actually now, and this is not I want you to know, this is not a diversion. This kind of is the point. The new behavioral economics, someone says they used to use shells. Exactly. Whatever the thing was, it was just a thing that would use exchanged one thing for something else. The new behavioral economics is actually beginning to unpack the extent to which we are, in fact, irrational human beings, not logical. Our buying decisions are based primarily on emotions, not logic. And the value we get from the things we buy has way more to do with the way we will feel when we get the result, not the result itself. Let's talk about how value really works. This is critical so that you can actually implement those 10 pillars without any of this stuff messing with your head, okay? How's value work? Well, if you have a hammer and I want to build a house, that hammer is valuable to me. I actually need it to build the house. What's the value of the hammer to me? Well, at one level you could say the value is that I can go build the house with it. It's useful. But actually there's more to it than that. What's the value of the hammer to you, the person who has it? It's whatever I'm willing to pay you for it. Do you follow this? The price, which is just a way that we have represented value in monetary terms, the price has a lot to do with what I'm willing to pay you for it. Now, let's talk about the hammer for a second and what I want to do with it. I'm not buying the hammer, really. If you think about this, what am I buying? I'm buying the result I'll get from using the hammer, the house. But check this out. If you go one step further and you really think about it, I'm not even buying the house when I buy that hammer. I'm not even buying the outcome, the result, the physical thing, the house. What am I buying? I'm buying the feeling I'm going to get when that house is finished. I'm buying the pride I'm going to have knowing that I've accomplished that extraordinary thing. I'm buying the security I'm going to feel sitting in that home that is warm and safe with my loved ones. I'm buying the prestige that might come if I've built a really big or really nice looking house. I'm buying those things even more than the house itself. I bet if you think about this and you look in your own life, aside from kind of mundane things, but even there too, you'll notice that what you buy, what you're willing to spend your money on, has a lot to do with how you expect you're going to feel once you have it. Now, how come people don't buy coaching? Well, they do. So, I mean, I don't want to make this absolute statement. But this is critical. Just like the hammer, you've got to understand something here. Your coaching and the other things you provide are like the hammer. People are not really buying your coaching. They're buying the results they're going to get from their coaching. And some of you will say, yes, yes, I know that part. But take it the rest of the way. They're not even buying the results they're going to get from your coaching. They're buying the way they're going to feel, the emotions they're going to have when they have those results. That's what we really want as human beings. So if you are not speaking explicitly to people about the emotional experiences that will come with the results they say they want, forget about the hammer. Who cares? If I wanted to build a house, do I need you to tell me, well, this hammer is 16 inches long and it's drop forged, like it says here on the side of this picture. That head there, that's made out of steel. That's good because nails are made out of metal too. You know, who cares about that? I mean, the features are important, but there's a benefit that I want, and that benefit isn't even the house. It's the feeling I'm going to get. You following this? Just let me know. I want to know if this is as interesting to you as I think it should be. Yeah? So you've got to be able to talk to people specifically about that about the value and about the experience they're going to have.